Hello and welcome to Classic Vinyl Podcast. I'm Justin and I'm here with my other host, Tyler.
Hey, Justin.
You know, Tyler, I don't want you to tell me just what you intend to do now.
Just go. I'll see myself out.
Yeah, just see yourself out. It's what I would like you to do.
Go now, and leave me. Oh, that's a different song.
That's a completely different song.
This is the Moody Blues.
Yeah, we're going to do the Moody Blues and one of their earliest songs, a very early 60s song for the Moody Blues. And I think even a lot of probably casual Moody Blues listeners or even classic rock fans may not know this song, Go Now. Like I said, early from the band, and you've got Denny Lane singing it. But let me give you a little history on the Moody Blues first. They're an English rock band. They were formed in Birmingham, England in 1964. The original lineup of the Moody Blues, which is quite a bit different from, we get into Days of Future Past, Nights of White Satin, that kind of stuff, a completely different band. But the original lineup was Graham Edge as the drummer. And funny thing about him, he was the only continuous member through the whole band's history until he passed away in 2021. Then you had Denny Lane on guitars and vocals, and Denny Lane most famously played with Paul McCartney and Wings in the 70s. Mike Pinder on keyboards and pianos and vocals, Ray Thomas on flutes, percussion, piano, vocals, and Klein Warwick on bass and vocals. The Moody Blues are really hard to explain, let's be honest. Their sound, if you've listened to our Days of Future Past review, I'm not a huge Moody Blues fan. I do enjoy Nights in White Satin and a couple of their songs. I didn't enjoy that album very well. This is completely different. This is really early 60s pop music.
Yeah, it certainly sounds like early 60s pop.
No, they've been described overall, and I think this is more pointing to the latter Moody Blues as psychedelic, rock, pop, progressive, that a lot of symphonic sounds, and they've influenced a lot of groups, of course.
This is not psychedelic.
No, this isn't psychedelic, and they've had multiple lineups over the years, but we won't get into that too heavy. The Moody Blues has sold more than 70 million albums worldwide with a total of 18 platinum and gold records. All in all, they've had 16 studio albums, 8 live albums, 23 compilation albums, and released 36 singles. So in the US, you had 12 albums in the top 40. Out of those 12 albums, 6 of them were in the top 20. And you had Seventh Sojourn and Long Distance Voyager both hit number 1. Now in the UK, you also had 12 albums in the top 40. 8 of those in the top 20. And you had On the Threshold of a Dream, A Question of Balance, and Every Good Boy Deserves Favor, all reaching number 1 in the UK. The greatest hits: This is the Moody Blues, which was released in 1974, hit number 14 in the UK and number 11 in the US. Their first number 1 single in the UK was this song we're doing today, Go Now. It was released in 1964. It was their only number 1 hit in the UK.
Oh, really?
And I think that's kind of funny because I think most people don't know this song, and even if they know it, they might not know it as the Moody Blues. But they had 13 other singles hit the top 100. Nights in White Satin was their first number 1 hit in the US. But Question also hit number 1. 21 singles were in the top 100 in the U.S. Popular songs in the 80s, when they kind of made a little bit of a comeback: Your Wildest Dreams, I Know You're Out There Somewhere. I think a lot of people know those songs. They were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2018.
The 80s is very different sounding Moody Blues than 1964 Moody Blues.
Yeah, and that's what's kind of funny is all that history I give about the Moody Blues really is more of the later band.
Yeah, it sounds like it. But also, these people's home country really dig them. They're popular among the Brits.
Yes, they are. So do you want to get to the song review?
I do.
And now it's time for the song review.
Okay, so today we're doing the Moody Blues and one of their first hit singles, Go Now, with an exclamation point, by the way.
That's right. This is an exclamation. This is a directive.
It is a directive. Mm-hmm. So this single was released on November 19th of 1964 in the UK, and not until January 19th of 1965 in the US. This song was originally written by Larry Banks and Milton Bennett. It was originally released in January of 1964 by Larry Banks' wife, Bessie Banks, and it reached number 40 in the charts.
Wow, did well.
Yeah, and it's a different version. I couldn't find it to listen to it here today. I have heard it before, and it's quite a bit different. But so the Moody Blues version of Go Now had a B-side with a song called It's Easy Child in the UK, and had a B-side called Lose Your Money in the US, which was very common in the 60s to release different B-sides in different countries. And of course, this song, Go Now, has the exclamation point, after the Go Now because it is a directive.
Oh, yeah. He's telling her what to do.
Yeah. Even though he's still in love with her, he still wants her to go. So this song was recorded in Birmingham, England, and produced by Denny Cordell. I couldn't find what studio it was recorded in, but by the sound of it, and we'll get into that a little later, it might have been a basement studio.
That's what it really sounds like.
Yeah, it's not mixed very well.
We went out to the garage, mother.
That's kind of what it sounds like. So this is sang by Denny Laine, who we talked about joined Paul McCartney and Wings later on, and that's where he kind of became popular. Played lead guitar on the song as well, which I'm not hearing hardly any guitar on this song, so...
No, I didn't pick up guitar. I picked up a lot.
I think
there's
there's
a bass.
There's a little bit of acoustic guitar, but this song is very bass and piano driven.
Oh, yeah.
So Denny Laine left the Moody Blues in 1966 to form another band and do some other projects. But soon the Moody Blues brought in Justin Hayward and John Lodge, which that's really the lineup most people know.
Nights in white satin.
Yeah, the voice they know most well is the Moody Blues. And when Laine joined Wings, this was a very common song, Go Now, that is, for them to play live. And I know they just come out, Wings just released their one-hand clapping sessions with this song in it, and it's a pretty decent rendition. In fact, I think I like the Wings version better, which really isn't fair because it's 10 years on, so...
10 years of practice, right?
Well, and I wouldn't even say that. I just think the studio and the equipment, and it just sounds a lot better.
It's technologically 10 years in the future.
Exactly. Yeah. And music went a long ways. I mean, it went 100 years in those 10 years. Things changed a lot. So this version, the Moody Blues version of Go Now, reached number 1 in the UK charts, number 10 in the US charts 2 months later, and it actually reached number 2 in Canada. So this was the band's second single after a single they released called Lose Your Money, which did not chart, did not do well. And Denny Laine had heard this song. This is obviously a cover song, but he had heard this song somehow. I can't remember how or whatever, but he knew from this song this was a perfect song for the Moody Blues to cover at the time, and he was obviously right with it hitting number 1. After this song hit number 1 in 1965, the Moody Blues did not have another hit or any kind of song hit the charts until 1968. So this was kind of the last. They had this early stuff, and then they get into their later stuff. Yeah. So Tyler, what is your history with this song? Have you ever heard it before today?
No, this was a first for me.
First, huh?
But I gotta say, teenage Tyler, going through all the heartache and breakup. Oh, I sure wish that teenage Tyler had heard this song.
I know this song from Wings before I ever knew it from the Moody Blues.
Yeah.
And the one thing I can say about this song, there's a lot of songs from the early 60s. I mean, this is from early 65, obviously, but that's the one thing that's going to drown out this whole thing for me is how poorly it sounds.
Yeah, that's something that, like I said, this is early 60s sounding rock, and it sounds like early 60s rock. That's got the tinny, the poor mixing. I mean, the vocals are good. The instruments are well played. It's just the recording. Like I said, or like you said, somebody's basement, somebody's mom's garage, and did not have all of that. It didn't sound as clean as you expect music to sound. But then again, 1964,
sometimes that's the charm too, right?
True.
So after listening to Go Now, ! What are your thoughts on this song, Tyler?
It's like a real soft open with the vocals. And he says, we've already said goodbye. And then the piano kicks in to join him. And that's followed by the drums and the bass. It's got this sweet little melody, but there is something kind of staggering about it, the beat that goes. And so it almost sounds like a happy little jaunty tune, but it's got this like darkness or is it darkness or there's something that rounds out and gives it depth, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it doesn't sound as upbeat as you would expect. It sounds sweet, sure, but it's not upbeat. There's something that's kind of sad about it. And so I like that. I like the matching there of the music to the lyrics. The lyrics, like we said, very straightforward. This is a breakup song. They've already said goodbye. She seems like she's trying to smooth it over with him and make him feel better about it. But I think, we've all seen a situation, if you haven't been in there yourself, lucky you, but we've all seen a situation where you got somebody who's breaking up. They don't want to see see the other person cry, so they're trying to smooth it over, make him feel better. Like, oh, we'll still be friends. I'll still come around. We can even still keep going on dates. And then he's like, this is just the knife twisting in my heart, and that's what he's telling her is, we've already said goodbye. I'm not going to feel any better about this. You're not going to make me feel any better about this. I've already told you I'm still in love with you. I'm not ready to break up, but I've also respected your wishes and I honor your decision that you have been straightforward with me, telling me you want to break up. You don't have feelings for me anymore. So let's break up. Just go. Would you just go now? Exclamation point. Yeah,
there you go.
So I gotta say, this is just such a beautiful breakup song. And this is why this song rocketed to the top of the charts, because it just really captures that. And I love it, the way that they've got the instruments in there. We listened to both and I agree, the Wings version's better. Once again, 10 years in the future, but still, the Wings version is better. I liked it better. But we listened to this version twice, and it's a real heart tugger. Tugs on those heartstrings, and real sweet song. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. What are your thoughts on Go Now! Exclamation point, Justin?
Yeah, I think it's a very endearing song. I mean, it does kind of bring a tear to your eye because it's probably something that everyone and anyone's went through in one manner, whether you're on one side or the other, right? As far as the music, it does have that soft open. I really like how it opens with "We've already said goodbye." I like the spoken lyric and then into the piano, which if you've listened to this podcast, I'm not a huge piano fan. When it's done well and it goes well, it fits in perfect. And I think that worked really well here.
The piano is an interesting instrument to incorporate, and I think that this song calls for it.
Yeah, it does. And this song, I said this earlier, but it's very bass and piano driven. The bass is thicker than you would expect on this early of a recording because, yes, the drums are very tinny. You kind of get that slow bass drum feel in it, but the cymbals are very tinny, which is very common for this time. But the mixing is, and don't get me wrong, when I said the mixing is poor, it is, but it does give that kind of endearing quality in a way, which is kind of funny. But it would have done a little better with a little more recognizable guitar, especially from Denny Lane, because he's an amazing guitar player. But with the mix being, it's not even called muddy, it just doesn't seem like it was really professionally done.
Yeah. Did Denny Lane play the guitar in the Wings version?
Correct.
Yeah, the guitar really added to it in the Wings version.
The one thing about this song, the original version, it's got a piano solo in it that's pretty decent. And if you ever listen to the Wings live version, it actually replaces that piano solo with a guitar solo, which I really like because they still leave the piano opening, they leave the piano verses throughout the song, and it fits well. But I think that little guitar solo in the Wings version really adds to it.
Yeah, for sure.
The lyrics on this, I mean, they're pretty self-explanatory. I mean, we know what it's about, and we may be wrong. Maybe she's not breaking up with him. Maybe something else going on, but that's what it seems like. But it does give you that sad feeling. So it's a really good song. I don't really like the fade out on it at the end, but it's a cute little song for the time being, and I've always enjoyed this song.
You're right with the ending. It shouldn't, a song like this, it feels like if you fade out in the ending, then she's not going now. And so it's twisting that knife all the deeper. That poor sucker. She won't leave him alone.
Yeah, I think the song would have done better with maybe like the piano intro going as the outro as well, or something like that.
Or just, a final piano chord to end it.
Yeah, something final, because I generally don't like fade outs unless they're done well. But this just kind of was abrupt. But that's not really criticism of it. It's just is what it is.
Yeah.
But so do you want to get to the song rating?
Let's rate it.
Song rating.
All right, if this is your first episode, our rating system's pretty straightforward. 0 to 10, 10 being the best and 5 being in the middle. That being said, I'm going to give this one a good 8. A little bit high after talking about it, but that's why I my rating down before we get a chance to discuss it. I think that this song is an excellent breakup song. This is a song that needs to be on that, playlist that you listen to when, your heart's broken and all that. It really captures that. But a breakup song's not a 10 for me, just because of the content. I mean, it could be a 10, but this song's not a 10. The Wings version bumped it up to a 9, I would say. But this one's a good 8. And maybe that's a little high. So where do you put this one, Justin?
Well, I'm not quite there with you as high on the rating. I think what helped me a little bit is I had heard the Wings song first, the Wings version first. And so when you go back to this song, it has that endearing quality, but it's also a very sad, somber song. And you're right, the music has kind of an upbeat feel in a way, but the subject matter drives it down. And so it kind of gives you a mix of emotions. And I guess if you listen to lyrics, that's what it's about. It's a mix of emotions. You know, he's in love, or they're both in love, or whatever it is, but it's ending, and get the hell out of here.
Oh, yeah, he's very straightforward about it. And there he says, I've told you I love you.
Yeah.
Or he says, I've told you I still love you. But, I mean, she seems like she's intent on breaking it off.
Yeah, but I give this song a 7. I think it's a very solid song. I've added it into some of my playlists, and I like to listen to it often. So it's a decent song, and I'm not a huge Moody Blues fan, but I definitely like Denny Lane in the Moody Blues.
Yeah, this one almost had kind of like a Ray Charles sound to it, if you know what I mean. It, like just that anguish, right?
Yeah.
And I think that the Moody Blues did a good job on it.
Yeah, I agree. So that's the Moody Blues, and Go Now! Exclamation point. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, or even want us to rate a song, you know, we certainly would be willing to do it. Send it to classicvinylpodcast@gmail.com. And once again, we really appreciate you listening to us. So until next time, we'll see you later.
See ya. Thank you so much for listening to Classic Vinyl Podcast. And don't forget to subscribe on Spotify or Apple Podcast or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Follow us on Instagram at Classic Vinyl Podcast for updates, and also share us with your music-loving friends.